lost hope. Maybe it wasn't about how much time she had left, but how brightly she could live each moment she was given. In the weeks that followed, Sarah began documenting her journey online, sharing her battles, her small victories, and even her bad days. Her story touched thousands around the world. Letters poured in from people saying she gave them courage to face their own struggles. Sarah never forgot that afternoon with Theresa Caputo. In the darkest chapter of her life, a message from beyond reminded her that the fight was not just for herself, but for everyone who needed to believe that even in the face of death, life could still bloom like a field of sunflowers. However, it was a crisp autumn afternoon in Los Angeles when Kelly Clarkson invited her team to gather for a fun taping of her popular daytime talk show. The studio was buzzing with excitement because Kelly had planned something special for her loyal stylist, Jenna, who had been by her side through years of tours, heartbreaks, and triumphs. Little did Jenna know, Kelly had secretly booked Theresa Caputo, the renowned Long Island medium, for a private reading, something Jenna had dreamed about for years but never thought would actually happen. As the cameras were packed away and the crew given an early wrap, Theresa entered the dressing room, her signature big blonde hair styled perfectly, her nails glittering as she waved hello. She wore a warm, knowing smile that instantly filled the room with an electric sense of mystery. Kelly clapped her hands excitedly. Jenna, surprise. You're getting a reading today, and so am I, apparently. Jenna, stunned, covered her mouth with both hands, tears immediately welling up. Oh my God, Kelly, are you serious? Theresa Caputo. Theresa laughed lightly. I'm just the messenger, honey, she said. Let's see who's coming through. They all sat in a cozy circle, Kelly bouncing a little in her chair from anticipation. Jenna's hands trembled slightly on her lap. Theresa closed her eyes, breathing deeply. Okay, she began, I'm already feeling a very strong male presence. He's showing me a leather jacket, he loved music, he's mentioning the letter R. Jenna gasped. That sounds like my dad. Robert. He passed away when I was 15. He used to ride motorcycles and loved classic rock. Theresa smiled warmly. He's telling me you're stronger than you think, Jenna. He's saying he's proud that you followed your dreams even when you doubted yourself. He also keeps pointing to your shoes. Did he always tease you about your shoes? Jenna laughed through her tears. He called me Cinderella because I always loved dressing up, even as a kid. He's with you, Cinderella, Theresa said, and Jenna broke down, Kelly hugging her tightly, whispering how proud she was of her. Then Theresa turned to Kelly, her expression shifting. She placed a hand gently over her heart. Kelly, there's a woman coming through for you, very maternal, very strong-willed. She's giving me chills. Kelly's face softened. My grandmother? She guessed quietly. Theresa nodded. Absolutely, she's talking about biscuits and singing in the kitchen. Kelly laughed through her tears now. She made the best biscuits. She always sang hymns while she cooked. Theresa's voice dropped to a soft, almost reverent tone. She wants you to know that she's been by your side, especially lately. She says you've been questioning your path, feeling like you're not enough sometimes. But she says you're more than enough, Kelly. You have a heart so big it lights up the people around you, even when you feel empty inside. The room was silent except for sniffles. Even a few crew members peeking through the doorframe were wiping their eyes. Theresa continued, she says to keep singing, not just for fame, not just for the audience, but because music is your soul speaking, and the world needs your soul. Kelly pressed her hand to her chest, overcome. Thank you so much. Theresa smiled, her job done. They're always with you, she said, standing up. You just have to listen. As Theresa left, the room felt lighter, almost as if the air itself was buzzing with love. Kelly turned to Jenna, wrapping her in another hug. Best surprise ever, Jenna whispered. And from somewhere unseen, perhaps just beyond the veil, two loving spirits smiled proudly at the women they loved so deeply. However, Kelsey Grammer sat quietly in the softly lit studio, the air heavy with anticipation. He wasn't one to easily believe in psychics or mediums. His life had been built on reason, on stagecraft, on scripts. But something about Theresa Caputo had intrigued him. Her reputation as the Long Island medium, a woman who connected with the spirits of the departed, had reached him through friends who swore by her authenticity. Today, Kelsey wasn't here to play a part. He was here to listen. Theresa bustled in, her signature platinum blonde hair towering, her energy filling the room. She wore a warm smile, but her eyes carried a deep seriousness. She sat across from Kelsey, clutching a small notepad, though she rarely wrote anything down. "Hi, Kelsey," she said, her voice bright but grounded. "I never know who's gonna come through. I just ask that you stay open." Kelsey nodded, folding his hands in his lap. His heart beat a little faster than usual. Theresa closed her eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. Then, almost immediately, she gasped lightly. "There's a woman here." She steps forward so quickly, Theresa said, her hand fluttering to her chest. "She's strong. Beautiful. She's giving me the name Karen, or something with a K." Kelsey's eyes widened. His sister, Karen, had passed away tragically when they were both young. "She says, I'm still your big sister. I never stopped looking out for you," Theresa said, her voice softening. Kelsey swallowed hard, the familiar sting of old grief tightening his throat. "She shows me you playing the piano, music," Theresa continued. Theresa Caputo connect with the beyond in captivating live event. Theresa Caputo, a renowned medium and reality TV star, has been captivating audiences with her paranormal abilities for over 2 decades. Her latest live event, Connect with the Beyond, promises to be an unforgettable experience that will delve into the mysteries of the afterlife. For those who may not be familiar with Theresa Caputo, she is the star of the popular reality TV show Long Island Medium, which aired on TLC from 2011 to 2019. The show followed her as she used her alleged psychic abilities to connect with the deceased and help grieving families find closure. With her unique gift, Theresa has built a reputation as one of the most respected mediums in the country. One of the most fascinating aspects of Theresa Caputo's work is her ability to communicate with spirits from beyond the grave. Through her sessions, she claims to receive messages from loved ones who have passed away, providing them with a sense of closure and reassurance that they are still remembered and loved. This ability to connect with the deceased has made her a sought-after speaker and counselor, with thousands of people seeking her guidance and support. The Connect with the Beyond live event promises to be an immersive experience that will allow attendees to explore the mysteries of the afterlife. The event will feature Theresa Caputo, as well as other guest speakers and mediums who will share their own experiences and insights into the world of the paranormal. From readings and channeling sessions to workshops and Q&A panels, attendees can expect to gain a deeper understanding of the afterlife and how to connect with it. However, it was a gray, misty afternoon in Hicksville, Long Island, when Michael Rivera walked into the modest studio of Theresa Caputo, the famous Long Island medium. His hands trembled slightly as he clutched a worn photo of his younger brother, Danny. It had been 3 years since Danny's tragic death, a heroin overdose at just 26, and not a day went by that Michael didn't feel the heavy pull of guilt and grief. Theresa greeted him with her usual vibrant energy, though her expression softened when she sensed the burden he carried. Her salon-like setup, complete with plush chairs and burning candles, gave a sense of peace, but Michael was skeptical. Could she really reach Danny? They sat down. Theresa closed her eyes for a moment, her hand reaching instinctively to the cross necklace around her throat. The room felt thicker, charged. Michael shifted uncomfortably, but before he could speak, Theresa's eyes snapped open wide. "Michael," she said, her voice almost a whisper, "there's a young man here. He's full of apologies. He's showing me a red hoodie. Does that make sense?" Michael's breath caught in his throat. Danny's favorite hoodie had been red, something he wore almost daily before he spiraled into addiction. Theresa continued, her voice trembling slightly. He says he's sorry he left you. He says it wasn't your fault. You tried to save him, he knows that. Tears welled up in Michael's eyes. He had spent endless nights replaying every conversation, every missed call, blaming himself for not doing more. He's also telling me something about an old guitar. Michael nodded slowly, his voice cracking. He used to play guitar when we were kids. He wanted to be a musician before. He trailed off. Theresa smiled gently. He says he still plays. He says when you hear music late at night, when a random song pops into your head, that's him. He's still with you. The air grew even heavier, the scent of the candles seeming stronger. Michael could almost feel the warmth of his brother's mischievous smile. Suddenly, Theresa gasped. He's showing me a sunny day at the beach. You were kids. He's thanking you for carrying him when he got too tired to walk back. Michael chuckled through his tears. That memory had been buried deep. A summer afternoon at Jones Beach when he had lifted a tiny, sunburned Danny onto his shoulders. He says that day, that feeling, he carries it with him. That love never died. For the first time in years, Michael felt the ice around his heart crack. The pain didn't vanish, but it shifted, became something softer, less jagged. Theresa wiped her eyes too, visibly moved. He wants you to live, not just survive. He says he doesn't want his story to be your ending. Michael stood, his legs weak but steady. He didn't know if it was real or just the closure he so desperately needed. But as he stepped outside into the misty afternoon, he felt a warmth brush past him. A whisper of music, faint but unmistakable, playing somewhere beyond the veil. And for the first time since Danny's death, Michael allowed himself a real, aching, hopeful smile. However, it was a gray afternoon in Long Island when Sarah Bennett walked into the small, warmly lit room where Theresa Caputo held her private readings. Sarah, a 34-year-old mother of two, had been diagnosed with late-stage cancer only 6 months ago. Though treatments and prayers continued, hope often felt like sand slipping through her fingers. Theresa greeted her with a wide smile, her signature blonde hair as bright as her personality. "Come in, sweetheart," she said, ushering Sarah to sit. Sarah wasn't sure what she expected, maybe a vague message, a comforting word. What she didn't expect was how immediate the connection felt when Theresa closed her eyes and began to speak. "I keep seeing sunflowers," Theresa said suddenly. "And there's a man with a deep laugh. He's telling you not to give up yet. He's saying you're stronger than you think." Sarah gasped. Her late father had planted sunflowers every year, and his booming laugh was unforgettable. Tears filled her eyes. Theresa smiled gently. "Your dad says there's more for you to do here. That your story isn't over yet. You're meant to inspire others, to show them what real strength looks like." For the first time in months, Sarah felt a flicker of something she said that she used to sit and listen, even when you thought you were alone. Tears welled in Kelsey's eyes. How could Theresa know? Those secret afternoons, barely a teenager, when he pounded out his feelings on an old upright piano in their tiny house. Karen had always encouraged his talents, but after her death, music had become both a refuge and a reminder. "She says you lived for two," Theresa whispered. "You carried her dreams too." Kelsey could barely nod, the emotions crashing over him like waves. He thought of his career, his awards, his fame, and the dark moments too. The loneliness, the struggles with addiction, the private heartbreaks no audience ever saw. "Karen says she's so proud," Theresa said, her own voice trembling now. "She says every time you doubted yourself," she whispered in your ear, "keep going. She's been your silent cheerleader." Kelsey pressed his hands to his face, the tears flowing freely now. This wasn't acting. This wasn't performance. It was a deep, aching connection, and it felt real. "And there's a man stepping forward too," Theresa said after a pause, wiping her eyes. "He's older, stern but proud, your grandfather. Kelsey thought of Gordon, his grandfather, who had helped raise him after his father's murder and his sister's death. Gordon had been a hard man, but he had loved Kelsey fiercely in his own way. He shows me a pocket watch, says you still have it. Kelsey reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small gold watch, battered and old, but priceless to him. Theresa smiled, a soft, knowing smile. He says, every time you doubt you're strong enough, remember whose blood you carry. The room felt heavier now, thick with memory and love. For a long moment, neither Kelsey nor Theresa spoke. The studio lights seemed to dim, the world narrowing down to just the two of them, and the invisible presences around them. When the session ended, Kelsey stood slowly, feeling lighter yet rooted, like a tree whose roots had been nourished by unseen hands. Thank you, he whispered to Theresa. She squeezed his hand warmly. They just wanted you to know, you're never alone. As Kelsey stepped outside into the bright California sun, he felt something brush his shoulder, like a hand, gentle and unseen. For the first time in a long while, he smiled a real smile, his heart full. And somewhere just beyond the veil, Karen smiled too. However, it was a bright and bustling Saturday afternoon at Jones Beach, Long Island. The sky was endless blue, the water shimmered like 1,000 diamonds, and the sound of revving jet skis filled the salty air. It was the annual Long Island Summer Splash Jet Ski Race, and crowds had gathered along the shore, cheering wildly as colorful jet skis zigzagged through the waves. Among the crowd, wearing her signature sky-high heels, perfectly teased blonde hair, and sparkling jewelry, stood Theresa Caputo, the famed Long Island medium. She wasn't here to race, not today, but she loved the energy, the community, and the sheer thrill of it all. Her son, Larry Jr., had convinced her to come watch, teasing her that even spirits like a good race. Little did he know how true that would be. As the racer zoomed past the first buoy, Theresa suddenly felt a strange chill run down her spine, despite the 85-degree heat. She blinked hard, clutching her chest. She knew this feeling well. A spirit was trying to make contact. She tried to ignore it. Not now, she thought. I'm here to enjoy the day. But the sensation grew stronger, like 1,000 butterflies trapped inside her. Her hands shook slightly as she closed her eyes. A voice, soft, urgent, echoed inside her mind. Stop the race. Someone's not safe. Theresa's eyes flew open. Her heart raced. She scanned the shoreline, then the water. Everything looked normal, but she had learned long ago to trust her gift. Without hesitation, she grabbed the microphone from the stunned event announcer. Listen, everybody. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but you need to stop the race. Right now, she shouted, her Long Island accent cutting through the noise. At first, people laughed, thinking it was some kind of promotional stunt. But then, seeing the seriousness in her eyes, the real fear, the race officials sprang into action. They waved red flags frantically, signaling the racers to pull back. Confused but obedient, the racers slowed down and circled back to shore. The crowd buzzed with nervous energy. Just minutes later, the reason became horrifyingly clear. One of the racers, a young man named Tyler, had lost control of his jet ski. The engine had malfunctioned and he was thrown hard into the water. Disoriented and struggling, he could barely keep his head above the waves. Because of the commotion, no one had noticed him until the race stopped. Lifeguards dove into action and pulled Tyler safely to shore. Drenched and coughing, but alive, he looked up at Theresa, who stood trembling, tears welling in her eyes. Later, as he sat wrapped in a towel, Tyler approached her. You saved my life, he said simply. How did you know? Theresa smiled through her tears. It wasn't me, honey. It was your grandfather. He passed a few years ago, right? A fisherman? Tyler's eyes widened in shock. Yeah, how could you know that? He told me to stop the race, she said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Said he wasn't gonna let anything happen to his grandson today. The news spread like wildfire. Reporters swarmed the beach, capturing the surreal story. Long Island medium saves life during jet ski race. Spirit warned her just in time. Some skeptics shook their heads, calling it coincidence. But those who were there knew the truth. On that sun-soaked beach, where laughter had almost turned into tragedy, a spirit had reached across worlds to save a life. And Theresa Caputo had listened. I am Mina. Hope your day is so well. If you like the video, don't